Okay, sounds good.
Should be fun.
So, Ian, here we are. We made it.
Yay.
We are on All About Your Profession. And I have known you for maybe 20 years. I don't know. I met you at networking events before, Chamber of Commerce, then Network After Work.
Absolutely.
So your face is familiar, but not your profession. So that's what we're going to discuss today, because at networking event, we cannot go into details.
Exactly.
So first of all, tell us who you are. So you are optimized results specialist?
Well, it's kind of interesting because throughout this period of time that we've known each other, my business has been metamorphosizing and
over the years. Okay.
And it's actually had a number of names, Optimized Results, since '99.
Oh, good.
And that's kind of where we've settled in.
Okay, so that was maybe when I met you or something?
Could well be.
Okay.
And what I do now is a direct result of how it came about. So maybe it'll make a little bit more sense if we go from
when you started to now.
Yes, from the caterpillar into the butterfly.
Oh, sounds good.
So it started out with taking a lot of industrial design engineering classes because my two great loves were physics and science and art. And I was trying to find a way to put them together. And design engineering seemed to be a nice logical way to put them together. So while
you became an engineer?
So in fact, although I was getting my degree in design engineering and whatnot, I was not a trust fund baby, so I was working my way through college.
Okay.
And I was working my way through working at a very large bank.
Okay.
And what I was noticing while I was working there, I started out as a stock clerk. I ended up as an assistant vice president.
No kidding.
Because of this.
Okay.
Every time I saw the way that they did things, it didn't make sense from a design perspective. Business perspective is all about these hierarchies and who controls how many people and power and blah, blah, blah. Very little of it had to do with getting the service or the product into the hands of the people who wanted it the smoothest, easiest way.
Okay.
So I started redoing their systems.
You mean their systems not on computer?
Exactly. This is going back before everybody had computers, all the way to 1980.
Okay. So that was just how to structure the things.
Exactly.
Okay, the company.
Perfect example. They wanted to save a whole bunch of money by letting go of a number of people, about 15 people they were going to fire.
Okay.
And I went to the vice president and I said, before you do this, let me look for another way.
What we can do, yeah.
Okay. The very, very shortened story is instead of saving the 500,000 they wanted, I saved them 47.5 million.
Wow.
And kept every single job.
Nice.
And the way that I did it is I looked at the people they were thinking of letting go were what we would call, from a sociological standpoint, the village elders.
Okay.
These are the people who'd been there the longest, knew where the bodies were buried, knew how everything worked.
Yeah.
Who do you go to when you want training? Who do you go to when you have a question? Right? So why would we get rid of them just because they have the highest hourly wages? Okay. So what I looked at was, let's put them in positions where they add value to the organization.
So you changed their name, position?
It moved them all into one area because they had all worked in all these different departments.
Yeah.
So they could answer a question about virtually anything.
Okay, good.
You have 250 people in the entire unit and phones on everybody's desk. And let's say you call in and you have a question about a payment. Oh, sorry, you called the wrong department. Let me transfer you. Transfer. So in about 15 minutes, you're very annoyed because you've been transferred 5 times.
Okay.
All those people have been interrupted until you get to the right person.
They're losing productivity.
Exactly. What if I pick up the phone and I can answer your question without even putting you on hold?
And those senior people can do it.
Bingo. So that
they became like the consultants of the company?
They became, I don't want to name the company, but it became that company's very first customer service representative group.
Oh, okay. That's a new position
you created. It was a whole new idea. Exactly, because the bank didn't have customer service reps back then.
Okay.
You know, we're talking 1980, 81. So I did a whole bunch of things like that, saved them a bunch of money. And I thought, well, this is interesting. Let me see if I can do it elsewhere. So I went to another company when I graduated from San Francisco State. And this company was retail.
Okay.
So I went into operations, once again, revamped their systems, made everything work smooth and easy. Great. But it was a mean organization, and I didn't want to be working with people who were like kill or be killed, dog eat dog retail.
Sounds good.
So I went looking for another job where they wanted change, and they asked for a turnaround specialist. So I went, and it's like, that's exactly it. Okay. Last one before I jumped out on my own. This store, they were doing $350,000 a year, needed to do $500,000. I got them to 1.2 million. Went, okay, this is what I'm going to do for a living.
Oh, because you knew how to turn things around?
And every store I worked in, or company, or even a corporation, depending on the size of the budget.
Oh, you optimized the operations.
Bingo. Thus, optimized results. Is basically where it came from.
Okay.
Taking whatever results, let's take that washcloth and get every drop we can get out of it.
Okay.
Right? And
instead, you would reassign responsibilities to people instead of letting them go.
Exactly. And this is incredibly important for your listeners, from a standpoint of understanding how silly the concept of letting people go is in saving money. Okay?
It's wrong.
It's totally wrong for a million reasons, but let me give you the cold, hard math of it. Okay?
Yeah, to retrain people costs money.
Exactly. Roughly 20% of the income goes to payroll. So it's a big piece of the pie. So when they say, oh, we have to cut, they look at the big piece of the pie and say, we'll cut 10% of this.
Yeah.
Okay. But if you do the math, 10% of 20% equals 2%.
Okay.
Big whoopee, 2%. Who cares? Meanwhile, if you look at manufacturing, marketing, sales, etc., the mechanical equipment, rent, everything else, and you take 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, 1%, you end up with about 10% savings, and you keep your people.
Okay. Yeah, because the big companies, they only look at paper, the numbers on paper. They don't look about how they're going to affect these people's lives. They don't look about all the trauma behind it. All they look at is numbers. You are a number, especially big corporations.
Exactly.
They don't care. They don't care. So they say, okay, we're going to reorganize this and that. This goes, this stays, boom.
Exactly. So originally, I got very frustrated with the fact that they didn't get it on that level. And so I started presenting it in this very mathematical way. It's like, okay, hard numbers, I'm not even going to talk about the people.
Yeah.
I'm just going to say you're being dumb, you're losing money. Very often, 40% of a company's expenditures is turnover. 40%.
Oh,
right?
Because you got to train them.
You got to train them. You got downtime when they don't know how to do their stuff yet. The insurance packages that you have to on and on. It's incredibly expensive.
It's very expensive.
Yeah. You cut your turnover by half. You are now making 20% more profit. That's a big profit jump.
Yeah.
So it's so much more intelligent to look at using your human resources as resources
rather than
just
numbers.
An expense.
Just numbers, yeah.
And people get better as they work. They learn more. They take in more information. They solve things more quickly. So they get better with age, like wine. So it's really worth holding on to that.
But how many people can you do this for? How many companies can you do this for at a time? Like one a month?
Right. You're exactly touching on why I started thinking about shifting gears. Now, the first thing that happened was the cultures of the company would very often be in the way of shifting how we do what we do.
Okay.
The culture would be, no, that's not the way we do things here. We just do this and we do that. So I started shifting from my original company was Up and Running Consulting.
Okay.
And now it went into the Blei Group, which was my last name for organizational development.
But didn't mean anything to people, right?
Exactly. But the approach now was organizational development, organizational design.
Okay.
And I was trying like crazy to get them to see that an organic approach was sustainable, whereas a mechanical approach breaks down.
Okay.
And again, got stuck dealing with over and over. So I started getting to where I would only be dealing with the top level people, the CEOs, CFOs, COOs. And quite frankly, pulling their heads out of their butts was the only thing that was going to ever fix the company.
Okay.
So the focus became getting these people at the top to basically get out of their own way.
All right.
Because they were standing in the way. You may have seen this yourself, where a person says, I hate having to be here all the time. I'm always here, I'm always here. And you ask them, well, have you taught everybody else how to do what you do?
Yeah.
No. Well, then of course you have to be here.
You have to delegate.
You have to delegate. And so their inability to delegate was causing their own misery.
Okay.
And the misery of the company.
And you tell them that.
So let's show you how to do this. Doing that for a bunch of years, and a master coach I knew from Chicago said, Ian, you realize this is called coaching.
Mm.
And really what you're doing is you've moved definitely.
Business coach.
Yes. At that point, well, it was sort of business coaching, but it was going deeper, because when you talk to somebody about why they can't delegate, it's deeper than business.
They want to be important.
And in control. It can be fear
Oh, it's
driven.
a control issue sometimes.
Right? So there's a fear issue possibly. There's an image. Who am I? My story about myself is I am this guy.
Yeah.
So we have to dig down into those narratives, untie the knots.
So they are able to delegate.
Exactly. So they can be free. And then delegation is obvious. Of course. Why didn't I think of this? There you go. And so we basically started freeing them and taking managers who were bullies and turning them into absolutely wonderful leaders.
Really?
And taking managers who were completely scattered and afraid and turning them into leaders.
Okay. So you would charge the company a percentage of what you save them in terms of
Oh, I wish I had.
No?
I would have a house on the hill had I done that. No, I was...
something else.
I was being very, very old school, and in those days it was sort of like by project, by hour, that sort of a thing.
Oh, okay.
And it hadn't occurred to me that, boy, oh boy, if only I had taken a percentage, that would have been great.
But people do that nowadays.
Yes, absolutely. And
so you can do it too.
but if I work with a company, which is much more rare now, very often now I'm working with individuals, couples, and work teams or groups, small groups.
Oh,
sometimes
small
it'll be a startup. Sometimes
because
it'll
more
be
and
a
more
division.
people are self-employed nowadays.
Exactly.
It's the new trend of the world.
Because of that insecurity that you never know
You're
when
gonna
somebody's
lose your
walking
job
in.
tomorrow.
Bingo. Exactly.
So more and more people are going self-employed.
Exactly. Which carries with it a whole lot of things that they never thought of.
Yeah, like business expense.
Exactly, like networking,
Yeah.
you know, and marketing and all of the things that they're going to now have to do, you know, opening their own mail.
Yes.
They never thought of that.
Yeah. So some of them go successful, some go back to work.
Exactly. And depending on what's going on for them. Now, here's another wonderful place where it's the same process for you and I, for a couple, for a work team, for a corporation. The ripples are the same, okay? If we start out really knowing what our values are, what we really believe in, and we make that our identity, everything works so easily, smooth as silk. When we have goals and all these things to do, and we haven't thought about why, we're in trouble. It's like running up the stairs and you're not looking at your feet, you're looking at the top of the stairs, you're very often going to trip.
Oh.
You kind of need to look at your feet.
Then you go to the top of the stairs. Why am I here?
Why am I here? Exactly. A lot of my clients have been, okay, I've got the house on the hill, I've got the cars, I've got all the things on my checklist.
But I don't have the other things.
But I'm not happy.
Oh,
I thought I was going to be happy.
That too, yeah. Oh, the other area of their lives are dismantled.
Exactly. I had a client a couple of years ago that was almost verbatim what she said to me. My business is rocking. My personal life is garbage. Like, what do we do here? And
I met a multimillionaire. He's successful because he travels everywhere, but he had to let the husband of his wife adopt his own daughter. So even as a successful man, he couldn't take care of just one child.
Yeah, exactly. And what ends up happening is we get way down the road and we finally start realizing just how important our values are to us.
Yeah.
And we start regretting like crazy.
That we didn't spend time on the other areas.
Exactly. Because you've heard the cliche on a person's deathbed, they never say, I wish I'd spend more time at work.
No, never.
Never.
Spend more time with my family.
Exactly, exactly.
So that's important.
That and a kind of balance that actually works, and this is where the business area intersected with my own passions growing up, looking into. I've always been fascinated with consciousness itself. It's mind-blowing to me because we're still asking the same questions we asked 3,000 years ago. Did my consciousness create me, or did me create consciousness?
It's like the CEO who decided to he's out of shape. He decided to finally buy a Stairmaster, and it stays in the basement. He never uses it because he's too busy, and then he dies of a heart attack. And then he said, "Oh, I wish I had used it earlier."
Exactly.
Because he dies because he's out of health. So to put off taking care of your own health is also a very bad.
Exactly, and you're totally bullseye on where I went with the coaching, which was,
how's your health?
Every bit of you is involved in every other aspect of your life. The compartmentalizing that we do is what is making us feel scattered.
Right.
So
we cannot put all our attention in the business.
Right, or in this, or in that. But what we need to be able to do, and this is the next thing people do, is they try to balance, like a balance beam, like the scales of Libra.
Yeah.
And when this is too heavy, I should put beans here, and now I put beans. And they're constantly adjusting my home life, my business, my home life, my business. My approach is throw that all away and integrate everything.
See what makes you feel good.
And what drives you really, so that why you're at business is the same reasons that you have the family that you have. And I had this happen actually just answering a man's question at a workshop I did for a nonprofit recently, where it was, the man was very excited about the nonprofit work they were doing. Yeah. And didn't know how to explain it to his son. Like, why am I always at work? Why is this so important to me?
Okay, because I have a cause.
And exactly. And I said, why don't you bring your son to work with you?
And show him.
And show him what you do, why you do it, why it's important to you. And that's spending quality time with him and your job and teaching. And he's going to ask you questions that are going to open doors that you may not have even thought about your own job.
You have a blind spot, right?
Exactly. So it's win, 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 win all the way down the road.
All right.
He was so excited with the prospect of being able to do that. And so, and recently I was working with a woman who realized that she was looking for things that she already knew how to do well. Okay. Because there was no risk. Okay. But there was no fulfillment or excitement or enjoyment either.
That's a client of yours?
About to be, potentially.
Oh, okay.
This is, we're doing our explorations.
Okay, so then you offered her your
So
services?
it's like, well, for the initial conversation, we just dig into what are your values. And it's interesting how few people really know what their values are. So
feel good, I guess, is
well,
a value.
A great exercise for you to do, or for anybody to try, is what ticks you off? What makes you really mad?
Oh, what makes you mad? Okay.
Because if you look at what makes you mad, look at the opposite. Because what's making you mad is probably one of your values getting stepped on.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Right.
So if someone lying to you really gets you upset, obviously honesty is one of your values.
I see.
So you start bringing them out and you say, okay, if honesty and creativity and authenticity and ideas are all part of what I love, then I want to work for a place who honors those things.
That have those values.
Right. And if I work for a place that honors those things, I'm going to be happy.
Okay. So now, since you, just to go back to the beginning of the thing, since you say now every company has a customer service department, since we are 2017, can your services be utilized still?
Oh, absolutely. When I work with companies, generally now, there are two things that I'm doing. I'm either working on what are called silos between divisions. Okay. So
between departments,
every department or division will sort of have a vertical communication tube that doesn't cross.
They all have their responsibilities.
Their own thing. And so the marketing department or the sales department will make a promise to the customer that they can deliver the XYZ in 2 weeks.
Oh, okay.
And the manufacturing people are going, are you crazy? It takes 3 weeks minimum to get that done.
Oh.
And oh my God. And so now what's it going to be? Pressure on manufacturing. They're all stressed out. They're going to do as well as they can, but they're going to be late. Now it's all apologizing to the customer, on and on and on. So to have manufacturing and sales talk to one another.
Before they do anything.
Huge difference. Now,
do they do that nowadays?
Smart companies, yes. There's the smartest companies out there are being very, very creative in how they're looking at this sort of thing. One of my favorite stories, and it's all over YouTube and a number of places. There's a guy named Tony Hsieh who took over Zappos a while ago.
Yeah.
And this is almost exactly how Tony did what he did. It was all about your values. Let's make this a values-based organization.
Okay.
Originally it was, we sell shoes on the internet.
Oh.
Boring.
Okay.
Okay. The values inventory came up with, we like to deliver happiness. And if delivering happiness is what we're about, how much training do we need to do on customer service?
A lot.
Well, do we? If our whole purpose is delivering happiness.
Oh, you mean it will cut down on customer service?
You don't even need to train on customer service. Your whole reason, your raison d'etre is to be delivering happiness.
Oh, okay, I see what your point.
Right? So everybody's on the same page to begin with.
Okay.
Less work, more straightforward. Everybody's values are being honored because he did an inventory of everyone's values.
All right.
We say, okay, what are the top values? Let's make this the company's values.
Okay.
So when you go to work in the morning, you're going to work for a place that believes in what you believe in.
Wants to deliver happiness.
Exactly. And one of their values is be a little weird. That's one of their company values, be a little weird.
Okay.
So imagine the person who does really great work, but they've got a purple stripe in their hair.
Okay.
They honor my purple stripe.
Okay.
I'm not only allowed to work here, but they like me.
Yeah, same as Apple.
Exactly. So the smart companies, boom. Now, what I do is I look at you as an individual as also being an organization. And you have multiple voices in your head and multiple perspectives.
I want to take care of my health, I want to take care of my money, and I want to take care of my personal life.
Exactly. And You don't see the world the same way when you're completely stressed out and when you're completely blissed out. You see the world very differently.
I agree.
We all do. It's normal.
Because we concentrate on the problem rather than the whole picture.
Sure. And when we're stressed out, we're more about survival. We're more thinking about ourselves. We're more about, kill or be killed kind of thinking. When we're more confident and happy and comfortable, we're more magnanimous, we're more we-oriented, et cetera, et cetera. So there's a lot of perspective changes that happen.
All right.
I look at those perspectives as individuals, if you will. Okay? So there's 5 of you inside. There's you who at rest. There's you stressed out.
Oh, mad. Yeah.
There's you totally confident and comfortable.
Oh, okay.
And then there are these wings who are with you all the time. And they influences. They're not your main way of looking at things, but parental, family, those little things are there influencing. Okay? So the 5 of you have got to be able to communicate, like those silos. You've got to be able to communicate with one another just as easily, which means you have to identify who is whom, what is she saying, why is she saying it, what's her agenda. And by doing that, we look at each person as a little committee. And you learn how to hear, oh, wait a second, the reason I want to run away from everybody and slam the door is because I'm all stressed out.
Okay.
Is that behavior going to serve my needs right now?
Or my end goal.
Exactly. Rather than just react like we normally would do, first I'm going to be a little bit mindful here, think about this.
Take a deep breath.
And exactly. Maybe this isn't the best way to handle this. Maybe I could say, okay, I'm all stressed out, and rather than run in my office and slam the door, why am I stressed? Is there something I could fix? Is there somebody I need to talk to? Do I need to run around the block?
What and come back when I feel better.
Yeah. And I can do that and then get back to work and not waste however long I would have wasted in my office with the door closed.
Okay, that sounds good. So do you prefer looking at the person or at the company?
Right now, I'm having a blast with the individuals because almost all of them have their own companies.
Oh.
And so what we work on together, they take with them.
Okay.
And their company goes that direction.
Okay.
So
what do you do to relax?
I am...
Do you do meditation?
I'm a mindfulness freak. I love the aspect of, let's say I'm getting all twisted up around stuff.
Do you make sometimes clients in your head?
Actually, it's really kind of interesting. I probably go too far with how much I care about my clients. I in a way, professionally fall in love with everyone I work with.
You want them to be better and better.
Absolutely. They are a work of art. They are my child. They are like everything to me.
You want to give them the best.
Exactly. So I completely lock into what their needs are.
Okay.
Sometimes way deeper than they even know themselves, and we pull it out.
Okay.
And so examples are always great. I had a guy who was an IT guy, and he was on the help desk. So 1 million phone calls a day. Help me,
yeah.
Right. And so he was being pulled in 1 million directions. And he was miserable. Working with him, I found that he was a very grounded, earthy, outdoorsy kind of guy. Nothing to do with IT. And what did he love to do for fun? Oh, snowboarding and being outside and doing stuff. Okay.
So you told him to do that?
I asked him one day, I said, so what would it be like for you if you were a park ranger? And I could just see his face just melt. Just,
oh, I would love to.
I said, we've never even talked about things like that. Let's talk about things like that. And so we started moving from keep doing what you're doing and learn how to cope with it, or maybe bail from this entirely and go into an area
where you feel better.
Where you feel better about it.
Okay.
Today he's running a ski shop with his buddies having a wonderful time.
Oh.
And they go on the weekends, they go snowboarding and skiing, and he's talking with people about bindings and things that mean something to him.
Okay.
And loving life.
And an IT person, how they can afford to hire you?
And so, this is one of the other things that, again, I said, if only I was smarter about this, I would have been taking percentages.
Yeah. Maybe you can start.
I started looking at what people are charging, and I just was astounded, because what it does is it says, really, really well-to-do rich people are going to be able to work with me, and nobody else is.
So how are you going to fix that?
So I decided I would go in the mid-range. I mean, you can be low fee, you can be high fee, and you can be mid-range.
So that's your market.
So that's my market. I am affordable. I'm not cheap, but I'm affordable, and
you solve people problems.
It's about the return on investment more than anything else. That is the.
So let's take that example of the IT guy. Mm-hmm. How many months did it take him to make the transition to a new profession?
I have 3 basic programs: a baby bear, and a mama bear, and a papa bear.
Ah.
And the baby bear is, I'm just going to try this like month to month, and we'll deal with whatever problems comes up. And then I have something called a personal re-engineering program.
Completely changed.
And the re-engineering is just like the business re-engineering. We're going to look at your systems and your processes, and we're going to make you very efficient and great at what you do.
Okay.
So that's 16 weeks. Then there's the individual transformation course.
That's longer.
Caterpillar to butterfly.
Oh.
And that's 26 weeks, 6 months.
Wow. 1 month, every month you talk to them?
And this is another thing that's different about me. It's no 3 phone calls a month and we're done. No. 4 full hour at least conversations, face to face, Skype or live or however we're going to do it.
Oh.
And up to an hour of extra triage. Oh my God, this thing happened.
Oh.
And I don't want to wait until our session.
Okay.
So they get basically 5 hours. And I write a personalized curricula of homework and practices for them every week. So I spend about 2 hours per client when they're not even with me, working on what do they need to practice.
Okay.
And so it's very much like a personal trainer. Okay, we look at your musculature and we say, okay, your biceps are great. We need to get your triceps to catch up.
Okay.
So we're going to give you tricep exercise.
I see. Yeah.
So let's say you have an internal voice that's a drill sergeant. Mm-hmm. Okay, get out of bed. Oh, you're always yelling at yourself.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
We need to work on that muscle and train you to talk to yourself nicer.
Yeah, I am up at 6:30 and I'm really hurt. I mean, like if I don't do it, I feel bad. Yeah.
Right, exactly. So the cracking whip on yourself.
Yeah, I do that.
Right? That is tied to a belief system that if you didn't, you wouldn't do anything.
Oh yeah, that is right? Also that.
So what we do is we go, okay, belief system, honest to God, is nothing more than you've been running neurochemicals and electrical signals between these parts of your brain, and they've made a wagon wheel rut.
Oh.
So your wheel always goes in that rut, and you just do what you've always done.
Okay.
So to undo that, it's the same thing as if we were going to say we want your wagon to go a different way. We're going to recognize exactly where you feel the somatic cue of either your neck gets tight or you feel your back hurts or your stomach hurts, something.
Yeah.
You go, oh, I'm about to do that thing.
Okay.
Stop. Instead, I'm going to do this thing over and over and over. And just like if you wear a groove in the carpet because you keep pacing, it's like, I'm not going to go that way, I'm going to go that way. And you start going a new way.
Okay.
21 to 28 days of repeated, intentional, mindful, doing it a new way, and you actually carve a new neural path.
Oh, okay.
Which becomes a habit.
Oh, okay. So then you're not stuck to getting up at 6 in the morning?
If you don't want to, or you start waking up and you say, it's 6 in the morning, it's a beautiful day, get up, honey, it's time to
Oh, make it more relaxed.
It's going to be a beautiful day, you're going to get everything done you want to get done.
Okay.
You are the embodiment of love.
Okay, sounds good, sounds good.
Which is like a really different way to get the hell out of bed.
Okay, now, if you're good at helping business save money, now that they all have customer service, how can you approach businesses and tell them, I can save you at least $2,000 per month, and if I don't, my services, I won't even start with you.
Well, we're going to start off with, is that absolutely a need? Okay, because sometimes we have artificial needs and goals.
Yeah.
We made it up.
Yeah.
And it's really not rooted in anything. It may not be that the business needs to make $2,000 a month more. It may be that it needs to spend $2,000 less. It may be that you need to look at where is the money going now.
No, but I mean, you won't take the case unless you can save them so much.
Right. Well, I'm not going to take the case unless I understand what they really want to do. Okay. I had a great, really fun couple come to work with me about a year or so ago. They wanted to work on their individual personal development and their relationship, and they're co-owners of a company. And we wanted to work on all of it. And to me, that was like, okay, that's the goal, to work on all three of those things and make them all work. Beautiful. No numbers, no nothing.
So how you you zip it through your head and then you tell them, yes, I can do that?
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, I was just about jumping out of my chair with excitement over that. What a wonderful thing to work on, because being in a really great relationship gives you an opportunity to work on yourself, because that other person is going to be like the sharpening stone for your sword.
Okay.
And you're going to be the sharpening stone for them.
Okay.
So if you do it right, you're going to learn from each other, you're going to discover things about yourself through each other, a lot of opportunity. And a company, oh wow, you're going to learn things about what you're really good at, what you don't like doing, what your partner likes to do that you don't like to do, and vice versa. Can we trade off some of our responsibilities?
Yeah.
And how are we going about doing what we're doing? Well, everything about their relationship was better. Everything about their individual ability to cope with things was better, and their company is doing better than ever before. And my favorite part of their testimonial, I think it's even on Yelp, is that after 20 years, the sex is better than it ever was in their relationship.
They told you?
Yes.
That's private, isn't it?
We never talked about that. We talked about sharing, opening up, getting really, really understanding each other.
Yeah.
And so their discovery of one another and their ability to communicate with one another
Made everything better?
made that better as well.
Oh, okay.
So this is why I call it integral work. Okay, because if we focus on the pebble, we can pretty much tell what the ripples are going to do.
Okay.
Most people focus on the ripples and they try to do something about the ripples. It's too late. They're already out there, right? But the size of the pebble, the weight of the pebble, the shape of the pebble, and how hard the pebble hits the water tells you what those ripples are going to be. So let's focus on the ripple and make you the best pebble you can possibly be. Boom. Everything else will take care of itself. And another example. Quiet, wonderful, reserved attorney working in a gigantic firm. Feeling run over all the time. The fast guys are zipping past and they're, always have quick answers. Well, he's a brilliant man, and he studies, and he may not say a lot, but when he says something, you can count on it. He's right, because he did the research. Well, what a wonderful thing to promote rather than apologize for. So
that's what you advise them to do?
Exactly. Instead of, I'm sorry I'm slower, I'm not sorry, I'm right. Very different way of looking at things. And he started being proud of the way that he worked and not hiding that. Within 12 weeks, he got a $50,000 a year increase, went from an associate to a full counsel, and he got a $20,000 bonus.
Good for him.
So, and I didn't cost $70,000, so it was quite a return on investment. And that's what it can work out to, where if a person is looking for a dollar for dollar investment, I'll be somewhat circumspect, and I want to see what the numbers are to begin with, and we're going to be very much in that left brain area. Mm-hmm. But I want more. I want them to be happy. I want them to be their kids to be happy. I want their spouses to be happy.
Cannot be measured with dollar signs. Yes.
That can't necessarily be measured in dollar signs. Very often, the dollar signs may come down, and the person's happiness
But for
goes
a company,
up.
that's the most important.
For a company, it usually is the first thing that. But what will happen is, if we look at things like turnover and we look at profitability and whatnot, they're very often putting their attention in the wrong place.
I see.
I
mean, nobody's going to come to you and say, I want you to make my employees happier. Will they do that?
They might, if they're smart enough to see that the turnover
is better.
Is killing them.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Like they have those little groups, team building thing.
Mm-hmm. And that's a lot of times people will say, oh, let's get a ping pong table, and that'll stop people from quitting. Not unless they're quitting because they want to play ping pong.
Oh, you need to find another way.
You need to find out what is in their hearts, what is in their minds, and this is what people don't want to do. Get to know your employees. They're people. Even Myers-Briggs, when people use things like Myers-Briggs personality tests, Myers-Briggs is a behavioral predictor test.
Okay.
That's all it is, okay? There are people who people will call drivers. Oh, they're a driver. Why? I don't know. They're a driver. Let's leave them alone. Okay, wait a second. Let's find out why they're a driver.
Because they like to drive.
What if they're nervous that the people who work for them are not trained well enough, and they don't think they're going to do the job right, and that's why they're driving them?
Oh, you mean driving them in that sense? Okay.
Yeah, like driving them. Exactly. So rather than just say this person is one of those A-type personality driver people, well, we find out why. We discover that it's actually a trust issue that has to do with training. We just solved the problem. We train these people to the degree where they can relax. They're no longer a driver. Now they become a totally different kind of a leader.
Okay.
They don't have to drive.
So you consult the company about that?
So it's like, instead of cutting the dandelions with scissors and tomorrow they're back, let's go in and dig up the roots.
Okay.
And then they'll never come back. So if we pull out the roots of our problems, those problems go away, they don't come back, and as I said earlier, 40% of your income going back out in turnover is enormous. That's like half your money. Okay. So
so you can offer your services to all companies that have a lot of turnovers.
If any company that is looking at where they feel that their cultural way of doing things is in their way of being bigger, in their way of being more creative, in their way of being more profitable, in their way of retaining their employees.
Those are good examples for you.
All extremely fixable problems, and very, very short. The Band-Aid type things that a lot of people do, we'll go on a retreat to Monterey, and, we'll sit in hot tubs and we'll chant.
Right.
Yay, that's great. We come back to work on Monday, and by Thursday, everything is just like it was.
Oh, or they take them to the woods and they do ropes.
Ropes and falling back trust things.
Yeah.
All of these things are lovely little playtime activities.
Yeah.
And they're fun and they do neat things. But none of them are attacking the root of the issue.
Mm-hmm.
And generally speaking, the root of the issue is going to be communication. We think we may be speaking the same language, but I've done this where I have a board of directors. I said, okay, everybody, I want you to think of a dog and write it down on a piece of paper.
Yeah.
And German Shepherd, Poodle, everybody has a different dog. It's a 3-letter noun, dog. And everybody thought of a different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So when I say the word trust, how many different ideas are out? We've got a different definition for all these words. We need to talk about this and get on the same page.
Oh, I see.
Because when I say I need this as soon as possible, your as soon as possible, and Mary's as soon as possible, and John's as soon as possible, they could all be very different.
How about if you specify in 2 hours?
That's right. So that's why we start getting to people who get very detailed.
Okay, that's
and then
better.
And then you have people who, details, and they tune out.
Oh.
So they didn't hear anything.
Uh-huh.
So understanding that we have people who are very detail-oriented, who tend to talk slower. And then you have people who are not detail-oriented at all, and they want everything bullet, 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 bullet. And they tend to talk very fast.
Okay.
And you start going, talking fast. Give them bullets. Talking slowly. Maybe they need details. And we start learning this about one another. This person processes visually. I see what you're saying. This person processes more kinesthetically. I feel you.
Mm-hmm.
Different meaning, And so
communication, yeah.
That level of understanding that one person, the the politeness and the packaging of it could be even more important than the content to certain people. Know that about them and give them what they're looking for.
A good way for you to find customers is you look at the news and you see which company is downsizing and you contact them. Say, hey, I can help you with that.
If I was going to do a cold calling methodology,
you would call people who are downsizing?
Exactly. Problem is a big risk there. Are they doing it because they don't have the imagination to think of another way?
Because the shareholders tell them to.
Yeah, and they're not thinking three-dimensional. There's another way to do it. My favorite way of getting customers is the way I do it now. Referrals. I love referrals because people know people, and there's a trust level. Okay. So when somebody says, I know a guy, no BS, this guy can really, really help you. I mean, mind-blowing stuff.
He can save you money on your company?
Yeah, exactly. And get beneath the surface problems. And that's the most important thing, because we're looking about differentiation here. Why is Optimize Results different than the thousands of coaches and the thousands of consulting companies out there? And
it's a different way of looking at things?
Very different way. I have basically designed a physical map, if you will, that can actually, you can look at and you can say, oh, is this why Joe Blow acts the way he acts, does what he does, thinks the way he thinks, feels the way he feels, etc. And I can now understand what to do to manage this guy beautifully.
To go back to companies, since you started talking about companies, if it's a big corporation, that's too big for you.
Well, the old joke, how to eat a whale one bite at a time?
Yeah.
Usually with a big corporation, depending on who's bringing me in, I may work with a division or a department like that. I worked with a multinational telecom company, and they had some offices in Redwood City, but they're in Hong Kong and all over. It was a couple of senior exec VPs that the CEO wanted me to specifically work with. And his thinking was he needed to work with those departments. I said, it's going to be easier than that. Work with the bosses. When they see things clearly, they will treat their people just right.
It always comes from the top.
Always comes from the top. So one guy who was absolutely, felt that being a general was the only way to rally the troops. And best of intentions, sweet, honorable guy, but beat the heck out of him, because he thought that's what was needed. So we started looking at why? Why do you feel you need to do this? What evidence do you have that this works better than this? Mm-hmm. No evidence? Have you tried this? No? Let's try it and let's gather evidence.
Oh, okay.
Right? So let's do this in a nice scientific methodology. That's my background. My dad was a biochemist. My mom's an anthropologist. Everything is science-based that I do.
Okay. So you right now you work mostly with self-employed people.
Self-employed or they're pretty high up on the food chain in the company they work.
Okay.
Usually, although I have worked with, I've got people who
small
are
companies,
or I got somebody who's a bartender and an artist. I have somebody who was an executive at a tech company and an artist, but never got to do her art because of this.
Too much work there.
We shifted things around to where she's now a consultant, an independent consultant, doing exactly what she was doing for the same company as an independent. No longer has to deal with the politics
of inside
there, and has freed up the time to be able to pursue her art.
So she became a consultant for the company?
Exactly.
Okay.
Exactly, which is always a possibility. Some companies would prefer to not have to think about your health care and your insurance and all
they're happy to see you go.
And if you're an independent, come and go. It's a nice, clean thing for them. It's a contract.
Then she lost her 401k.
And however, she gets to do
what she
wants to do, and being able to do her artwork gave her 30 years onto her life. Okay?
How about you? Is there something you want to do that you are unable to do?
I am such a Renaissance guy. It's
that you do what you want when you want?
Most of the time I am either working with clients and writing,
which you like doing.
Love doing. And I'm currently writing 4 books simultaneously, which I do not recommend. It's insane. But I have 4 very different ideas, and I'm writing them all at the same time. I have one book out called Kind Ambition. Mm. And so I'm writing a sequel called More Kind Ambition, which is all about how to succeed ambition using compassion. And it's thing after thing after thing where compassion and kindness gets more profit.
Like Facebook.
Yeah. It really, well, Facebook is an interesting anomaly that unfortunately everybody thinks, oh, I can do another one of those. No, there's not going to be another one. Facebook is Facebook.
The one.
It happened. It was magic. That's done. There'll be another thing someday, but who knows what that's going to be. But the being able to do that and then say, okay, my Friday nights, for instance, I have date night with myself. Because I think that everyone needs to take some time to date themselves. Take yourself to dinner, buy yourself whatever it is that makes you feel special and wonderful. Pursue it without any need for anybody else to do it.
Okay.
That involves meditation, and I work out and do some martial arts.
You go to the gym, yeah.
And I make myself a wonderful dinner, and then I spend the rest of the night playing music, and I jam out on my guitar. A little history.
It makes you feel good.
Absolutely. The big hair bands of the 80s, where are they now on VH1?
Yeah.
I'm one of those guys.
You're probably going to go to the Hate Street Fair.
Absolutely.
Summer of Love. It's Sunday.
It's absolutely. I don't know if anybody is an old-timer San Franciscan, back when Full Moon Saloon was there and the Stone and everything, but a band called Fallen Angel in the 80s.
You know the Red Vic?
Oh yeah, absolutely,
yeah. So,
absolutely.
So a lot of people are going to go there to reminisce, you know.
Absolutely. Well, we were leather and metal shredders back in those days.
Some places are still there, like the Red Vic and some of those icon places. They're still there.
Absolutely. Thank gosh, there's a little San Francisco left in San Francisco.
Yeah.
But so I paint, I draw, I play music, I write music, I write poetry, I write books.
And that's what you do for you.
For me, exactly.
That's good to know. Well, this pretty much tells it all, I would say. I'm sure there's a lot more to say, but it was great to know you better. And yeah, so like you said, referrals. If I think of someone, definitely.
My favorite thing is when somebody, I've been playing around with some of these almost like slogans, but when a person rolls their eyes when they hear a coach, we'll burn sage and we'll clear the air for you. And you start rolling your eyes, call me. I'm not going to do any of that.
Oh, okay. That's more like something else.
Exactly.
Like
what I call
yogi.
the woo-woo.
The yogi.
Yeah. Now, I do all of the Eastern practices.
The yoga.
But from a standpoint of
relaxing.
The real deal, okay? Yoga poses is only one of the 8 limbs of yoga.
Okay.
Asana is only one. It's only one. There's a lot more to yoga than poses.
You got to do it regularly, though.
And it's almost all in your mind. And the John Kabat-Zinn work in mindfulness and meditation.
Zen, yeah.
Brilliant stuff. He has an exercise with a raisin that I've given people, where you take a raisin.
Yeah.
And that raisin gets your full attention. How does it
just
feel?
Look at it.
How does it look? What does it smell like? What does it taste like? What is your skin
how did you feel it? Yeah.
Exactly. And to be able to get your concentration to really focus that way is something that just not having your phone every 5 seconds is hard enough for a lot of people. So that kind of focus enables people to really get to a place where they don't do compulsive things like eating compulsively, drinking compulsively, doing dumb stuff.
Get distracted.
Right. And when you are the best you imaginable, you're the sharpest knife you can be, life gets so much easier.
All right. Thank you so much, Ian. That's your name. So it was Ian Blei, Blei or Blei?
It's Ian Blei.
Oh, it's Blei. It was neither one.
Well, it could be either.
Yeah. Okay. Ian Blei, Optimize Results. So you got his website just in case you want to contact him. So thank you so much. It's been a pleasure having you here.
Thank you so much. It was a pleasure. Definitely.